Well, greetings, Mr. Colazar's class. Looking at section chemistry 3.2, what we're going to see today is looking at the comparison of physical and chemical properties. And so in the beginning, our physical properties, characteristics that can be observed or measured without changing the sample's composition. So as we look at something, the color, the shape, the texture, the size, the mass, if it's fragile, its length, what it smells like, anything that by just looking at the object we can observe without changing its composition. So as long as it stays the same material. So you might see a package that says fragile on it. Fragile means that it could break, so you need to be careful with it. We could see the color of the object. The line is red. Could be an example. The shape, what it looks like. Texture, is it rough or smooth? How big it is. All of these are physical properties. Keeps that material the same. Now, extensive properties, a term that we'll talk about a little bit, depends on how much matter is present. So the volume, the mass, the energy content, like calories. So if you eat a lot of pizza versus one slice of pizza, intensive properties don't matter on the amount that you have. So in intensive property, the freezing point doesn't matter how much the material, the boiling point's always the same, the density of material is always the same. So it depends on extensive, how much you have. Intensive, it doesn't matter how much you have. Chemical properties are going to be the ability or the inability for it to undergo a change to a different substance. So a new substance is produced or would be produced. So the key is the ability to undergo to a new substance. So if something says it's flammable or if it says it's corrosive, means it could change at some point. At some point. Doesn't mean it's changing right now. If something is dangerous, it's got the skull and crossbones on it, meaning dangerous there or poisonous. It's not poison to you yet. If you ingest it, it would be. So it could change at some point, the ability or inability to change. If something reacts with sunlight, so undergo a change. If something reacts with oxygen, an ability for it to rust. If we go back, medications a lot of time are stored in bottles that react with sunlight so that that UV light is not allowed to filter in. So when we're looking at physical properties, what we're looking at it is just describing the material. When we look at chemical properties, it's going to be the ability or the inability to change into something. If something does not react, that's an inability to change, and that is still a chemical property. Last slide that we have is just to talk about physical and chemical properties can depend on specific conditions. One that we're going to talk about in the class is the density of water is unusual because as it goes from a solid to a liquid, it's less dense as a solid, and this is the reason why ice floats. Which is weird. It can be good and bad. We'll let you think about the reasons why ice floating or expanding can be good or bad as it freezes.